Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Day Chats. I'm your host, Daisy Michelle, and I know it has been quite a while since I've last uploaded an episode. So I'm going to give you guys a little recap of what I've been up to, how everything's been going, and we're finally on a schedule, you guys. So be ready for more episodes to come, and I'll let you know more all about it in just a second. To give you guys a quick recap, I have been traveling as much as I can, which given with COVID and everything hasn't been as much as I would like to, but I've finally been giving myself the opportunity to travel and discover new things and go to new places and try new things. So I've been trying to live my best life. And as cliche as that sounds, that's really what I've been doing. I've taken this time to really reflect on the person I am, the person I want to be, and seeing where that gap is and seeing what I need to do to become the person that I want to be. And it's been such a journey. It has been an interesting ride. We're definitely still going through it, but I wanted to share that with you guys because, I'm going through a moment in life right now. I'm 24 and I'm going through this phase where I'm maturing more and I'm starting to see things a little more differently than I did even just a year ago. And it's a really interesting change that I'm noticing, and just how I've approached life so far, both in the past and how I do so now, is so different. I don't know if any of you are, in that same boat or going through a new milestone in that sense. Please let me know if you can relate. Like, you can feel that shift happen in you, and it's such a strange feeling, but also very comforting. It's an interesting feeling also, but like I said, a very, very strange feeling because you can actually feel yourself changing and feel yourself thinking a different way. And I definitely want to talk more about that in a later episode. But that's just a little snippet to let you guys know like what I've been going through and like what I've been doing these past couple weeks that I haven't been posting, really just going through a journey, and seeing where life has been taking me and seeing how I'm dealing with life. I have been able to go out of state on my own for a vacation for the first time, and it was amazing. As you guys know, as you guys have heard, I've told you guys I went to Rosarito back in June for my first mini vacation. And then in July, I went to Louisiana. I went to New Orleans. So that was so much fun. I spent 4th of July in New Orleans, and it was honestly the best time of my life. I haven't had such a good time like that in what seems like forever. I finally got that sense of normalcy again, and I got that sense of adventure, and it was so nice to be out of my comfort zone and be out of, California for a little bit and just be out of the West Coast. The Southern hospitality is such a real thing, and it was so cool to experience. I absolutely loved it. I actually wanted to go back for Labor Day weekend, but, with Hurricane Ida, that was unfortunately not able to happen. But that's okay. God willing, I'll be going to Seattle in November to see one of my best friends, Becca. And I'm so excited to go see her and spend her birthday. Well, I'm actually going to leave like right before her birthday, but spend her birthday week with her and, get to know Seattle and like have just a good time with her. It'll be super fun. So I'm super excited about that. And, I went back to school. I'm taking 2 classes at my local community college. I think 2 classes for me right now is good because I do work full time and my peak season is right around the corner. So it is really exciting to be able to take these 2 classes that I'm genuinely interested in. I'm taking a personal growth class and an intro to criminal justice class. So it's really nice to finally be able to take classes that I'm interested in without the burden of, this class has to meet this requirement, or I have to take this class for graduation, whatever. This is actually something that I get to take out of my own personal interest, and it's really nice. It does make a difference. So I'm just really excited. Also, this is the first time I think in a really, really long time where I'm actually giving myself the time to be truly single. And what I mean by that is I'm not entertaining other men. I'm not entertaining conversations. I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm not looking even for just a random guy to talk to when I'm bored. None of that. I don't have any dating apps. I've deleted them all. Like, I did this a while back ago. So I've given myself that time to truly be single. And the things that I've learned and the things that I have realized in this time is just crazy. I've been able to see things with a lot more clarity. I was actually listening to my episode, The Queen is Free, not too long ago, and listening to how I was telling you guys how the guy that I was dating was treating me. And it made me so sad in a way to hear how I allowed someone to treat me. But it also made me so proud to see that even then I was able to put my foot down. Even if it took me a while to do so, I was still able to put my foot down and to think about how much I've grown even in these few months from that time to now. That's definitely something I want to share down the line is, how I'm growing and how I'm evolving. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. But to get into today's episode, it's a lot about, like I said, going through these changes, going through these milestones in life. And along with the good things, something that I've been going through and really realizing is that I am outgrowing some friendships. And it's really has been a hard pill to swallow, to recognize that sometimes people are not meant to be in your life forever, and that is okay. It definitely has been something difficult to grasp, but I've slowly started to come to terms with it and be okay with the fact that it's totally okay and normal to outgrow some friendships along your life. You, unfortunately, are not always going to be friends with the people that you meet in life. Some people are meant to be in your life for a reason or for a season or, for a short period of time, and that's okay. And a part of realizing that outgrowing friendships is okay is also taking accountability on my end and realizing that I don't need to hold on to these friendships or these relationships harder just because they're diminishing. Something that I've noticed in myself, going through this experience is that I will oftentimes not say how I truly feel if I already feel that the relationship or the friendship is diminishing. For instance, if I feel that my friendship with someone who I'm close with, that I would consider a really good friend, is parting away, rather than expressing my feelings about how, certain things that they may be doing make me feel, I will just bottle it in efforts to try to salvage the friendship. And I've come to realize that, in one way, if I'm having a friendship that's parting ways and we're already not talking, I don't need to go out of my way, or they don't need to go out of their way to reach out to each other, to try to have that discussion about whose fault it is, or why we're not friends anymore, or why we're not that close. That doesn't always need to happen. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have that conversation. You know your own friendship well, and you know what kind of closure you want. But I've come to terms that it's okay if we don't have that kind of closure, and that we just both amicably part ways that way. Where there's no bad blood between us or anything. We just happen to part ways, and that's okay. And on the other hand, if it is someone that I'm close to, that I have, daily communication with, it's also okay for me to be able to voice my opinion and voice my feelings without being scared of the relationship diminishing. And what I mean by that is that I don't need to bottle in how I'm feeling in efforts to salvage the friendship. I should be able to voice my opinion, because I should be able to communicate how I'm feeling with the other person. If there's something that's bothering me about the other person, it's not fair for me to expect them to stop doing it if I'm not doing my part to communicate what's bothering me. And that goes for any kind of friendship or relationship. If your partner is doing something that's bothering you, you can't expect them to read your mind. You have to be able to communicate your feelings, communicate what they're doing and how it's making you feel. And honestly, I don't think it would be a bad idea to offer, if you're wanting them to stop, say, I would appreciate if you would stop doing that because it makes me feel XYZ. And if it's in a friendship, when you do this, it makes me feel this way. And I think that's the most interesting thing about all of this and growing and getting older is realizing the importance of communication. And it's something that I've talked about in the past, and it's something that I know it's important to communicate, but it's just so interesting for me to see how communication is just such a foundation in so many things, both platonic and in romantic relationships. We need to be able to communicate how we're feeling, as well as remember that not everything is personal. And that's also been a really hard pill for me to swallow. And that's something that I'm currently working on, is remembering that not everything is personal. And what do I mean by that? Is that just because I feel that someone isn't reciprocating the same energy to me, I don't need to automatically assume that they think any less of me, or that they don't like me, or that they don't want to talk to me. It doesn't always have to be a personal attack towards you. Can it be that sometimes? Yeah, depending on the instance. But in this instance, it doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes your friend may be going through something. And that's something that I confirmed. I had a friend that I hadn't really been talking to that often. We used to talk a lot more than we did now. And I started taking that personally. I started feeling like, okay, are they pulling away? Do they just not want to be friends? I took it too personal. And then they shared that they've been having a really hard time lately. It's been a hard, rough past few weeks for them. And it took that for me to remember that, again, not everything is personal. Not everything is about me. So rather than feeling like it's a personal attack to me, I could take that opportunity to also step back and see, why am I feeling this way? What can I do to remind myself that not everything is personal? And what can I do to confirm that? So that maybe just checking in, seeing how the other person is doing, seeing, what they're going through, and having that communication is what is going to help me ease that part of my brain and ease that sense of everything is personal and remind me that it's not. And to go back to what I was saying about outgrowing friendships, like I said, it's been a hard pill to swallow, and it's been quite an interesting journey to recognize that not everyone is meant to be in your life forever, and that's okay. And it's also important to remember that just because their path is not going in the same direction that you expected them to be, or their path is not going in the direction that you wanted it to be, or that your path is going in, that doesn't mean that they're in the wrong, and that doesn't mean that you're in the wrong. And obviously every situation is different. There are some instances where people do you dirty, or you do them dirty, and there is a clear distinction between that. But if we're talking about friendships here that are just outgrowing and just going in different directions, that's when you have to remember it's not always personal. It's not always about you. And sometimes it's not even about them either. It's not about you. It's not about them. It's just where life is taking you both. And that's okay, because in every direction you go, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience, you learn something, you grow from it. And sometimes growing takes a little bit longer for one person than another, and that is okay. And just because it takes a different amount of time for both of you to grow doesn't mean that either of you are bad people or one person is better than the other. It's a part of life. It's a part of your journey. And I think this is a really, really interesting time in my life right now because I have friends that still are in school. They're getting their graduate degrees. I have not too many, but I have a few friends who are still in undergrad getting their bachelor's degree. I myself am out of school. I started my professional career already. I have friends who have started families. They've gotten married and now are having kids. So I have a lot of different relationships where everybody's in different points of their life. And I have some friends who are still trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. And that's okay too. For someone like me who likes to control things, that is something that is really stressful to have those kinds of conversations at this point in my life. But again, that's a me problem. That's not a them problem. And as I continue going to therapy and as I continue to self-reflect on myself, and like I said earlier, on who I want to be and who I am and where that gap is, I start to realize, some friendships are just naturally going to outgrow because we're in different places in life. Could it be that in the future we come back together and reconcile, or that we, start talking again and hanging out? Yeah, it could be, because at that point, your friend is going to be a different version of themselves and you're going to be a different version of yourself. You both would have experienced different things where you guys may share more common grounds, and that will allow you to, continue growing your friendship with them. And if that means taking a pause on your friendship right now and outgrowing and then coming back together in the future, then that's great. And that's not always going to be the case. And that's okay too. Sometimes it may be that your life is so different than theirs and you're both in such a different place in your life where you guys don't come back together because your life takes a completely different path, and that's okay too. Because that's the beauty of life, is that as you continue growing and as you continue moving on in life and, reaching these new milestones, is you're going to be meeting new people and you're going to be experiencing new things and you're going to be learning new things from the people that you meet. Whether it's a good experience or a bad experience, like I said, you're going to grow. And it's honestly been an interesting point to consider that as I continue growing, not everyone's going to be friends. And there are going to be times when some people in your life are still friends and you aren't with them, and that's okay too. And that to me is just the biggest thing for me right now, is being okay with the fact that I'm outgrowing some friendships where I feel that I'm in a different place, both mentally and life-wise, than other people. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with me wanting to have an expectation. There's nothing wrong with me knowing what kind of friendship or relationship that I want and what are some qualities and traits that I want in a friendship in return. Because I know the kind of friend that I am. I know the kind of qualities and traits that I can offer to a friendship or a relationship. And there's nothing wrong for me wanting the same in return. It's also important to remember that those qualities, those traits come in many different ways. So it's important to not fixate yourself on how those qualities and traits are going to be given to you or shown to you. But personally, I don't think there's anything wrong to say, hey, I want a friend or I want a relationship who's going to offer these traits or these things in return, because I know that's the same thing that I offer. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would love to hear what you guys think. I would love to hear if any of you feel that outgrowing friendships has been an easy thing for you or a difficult thing for you or an interesting thing for you to experience. Just in general, I think being 24, 25, 26 is such an interesting time in life. Like it's wild. It's been a lot of learning that I've been doing, especially now that I've given myself the time and the tools to really reflect, and not only reflect, but actually allowing myself to make a change. allowing myself to recognize and take accountability of what I do and what part I play in relationships, whether it's good or bad, and reflect on that. And that's something that I hold very near and dear to my heart. That's something that I always look for in a friendship or partnership, is someone who can reciprocate that, for example, who can take accountability of their actions, take responsibility of what they're doing, and make a change if they need to. And acknowledge, if they've done something wrong, or acknowledge if they've done something right. And this is something that I've discussed with my therapist, is that I'm just at a point in my life where I just want the same in return. Whatever I give, I want the same in return. And like I said, that may come in different ways, and that's okay. But if someone is not giving me what I know I'm giving, then I'm just at a point where if it's becoming a bad habit of accepting less just because they don't feel that I deserve what I'm asking for, then it's okay to let go. Or if that's the best that they can give and it's not good enough for me, then it's also okay for me to let go. Because somebody's best isn't always going to be enough for you. And I think there's a fine line between expecting the impossible of people, and then also expecting what you can give. So for example, if I know I'm a good friend, I'm a good listener, I'm very loving, I give you the time, I spend quality time with you, I try to give you the love in your love language, right? So you feel appreciated, you feel heard, you feel respected, you feel loved, but you don't give the same in return for me. And let's say I've communicated that with you and you still don't do it, then at that point, for me, in my opinion, it's okay to let you go, because we're no longer serving each other our purpose of being there for each other, one another, offering each other the same thing. At that point, it starts feeling like I'm giving more than what I'm receiving. And in my opinion, things need to be equal. Someone needs to be able to give you just as much as you're giving them. And it's not always going to be where it's 100% equal. Sometimes people are going to be down and they're not going to be able to give you everything. And some days you're going to be giving a little more. And then vice versa. Some days you aren't going to be able to give them everything that they may need, and that person will give you more. But it has to be a good balance, And I'm not talking about codependency. I'm really not. I'm not talking about where you're expecting someone to fill your void or fill your needs. Not at all. But there's nothing wrong with you knowing what you want out of a friendship. And as you grow and as you continue to hit more milestones, especially right now in your 20s, it's a time where you're going to realize that, unfortunately, you're not always going to be friends with people. And it doesn't have to be personal, and it doesn't have to be this crazy blowout communication. It could be very amicable. It could be very loving, and you guys can still be on good terms and just recognize that life is just taking you on a different path, and that is okay. And I feel like this conversation has just been a little mumble jumbled, and I hope it makes sense, but I didn't want to come in with a script or any notes or anything. It's just me talking in front of the microphone, talking out of my heart, and really just working out my thoughts. That's the whole point of this podcast, is to talk about the good things, talk about the bad things, and talk about the things that we're going through and work out what's been going on. We're working things out together. I know I'm not alone. It's definitely a crazy ride, but luckily, I know for a fact that a lot of my listeners are between my age range. So if you're listening to this and you're going through the same thing, just know you're not alone, and it's okay. And, if you are in a friendship or relationship where people are taking advantage of you, also know that it's okay to put your foot down. I know this episode wasn't about that. It was just purely platonic or romantic relationships, just outgrowing each other in a natural way. But just putting that little 2 cents in, that if someone is disrespecting you, or, you feel that person is taking advantage of you or not appreciating you, definitely communicate that. And if things aren't changing and you see that they really are taking advantage of you with the malice intent, then let them go. You deserve better. And like I've mentioned, this whole past few months have just been a big journey for me, and I'm continuing on that journey. It's not like it's over. But there's a lot of things that I've learned, especially now taking my personal growth class. It's crazy, everything that we talk about. And I want to take this opportunity to really talk about the things that we learn in class, because it's helpful for me, and I hope it'll be helpful for you guys too. So next week, we will be talking about a lot of different other concepts, especially about body image and self-love. So I hope you guys are excited for that. And until then, embrace the day.